Hi everyone. In the previous video was made this modern and multicolored user interface in the C# language, with the option to keep the button highlighted and show the title and icon when a secondary form is open. FontAwesome icons were used, integrated into the FontAwesome.Sharp library developed by Kurtjan and Thomas. Now we will do this same project in the Visual Basic language. Well, let's start with the tutorial. First we will install the FontAwesome icons. To do this, in the project, right-click, and manage NuGet packages. We look for FontAwesome.Sharp and install. Once the installation is finished, a new tab will be added. In its two controls, a button and a picture box. In Visual Studio 2017 and 2019, these controls are added automatically. In previous versions of Visual Studio, you have to manually add these controls to the toolbox. Well, let's start designing the main form. We add a panel for the side menu. In the dock property, we place left to attach to the left. We change the width to 220 pixels. Finally we change the background color, in this case an RGB color. We add another panel inside the menu to place a logo. In the dock property, we place top, to attach to the top. I will place a height of 140 pixels. We insert an picture box for the logo. Well, now let's add buttons with FontAwesome icon. In the dock property we place top to couple to the top. We adjust the height, for example 60 pixels. In flat style we place flat. In flat appearance, we set the border size to 0. We change the color of the font. We look for the FontAwesome tab, and assign an icon. You can use any of these icons available in the library version. You can use the search engine to find the name of the icon faster. However, only a small inconvenience, it is very difficult to locate the icon, since it only allows you to place a character for the search. Well, for now I will leave it with this icon. And later I will show you the fastest way to place the icons. Well, we chose an icon color. We change the size, for example, 32 pixels. We align the text to the left. In the same way for the icon, we line up to the left. In relation to texture and image, we place image before text. Finally we apply a padding of 10 pixels to the left and 20 pixels to the right. We add a number of necessary buttons, for example 5 more buttons. We change the text and name of the buttons. Well, now let's see how to change the icons more easily, since it is really difficult to choose an icon from the designer's properties. Alright, we open the designer code. To do this, we go to the Solution Explorer, display the form, and select any of the methods. We locate the buttons, for example the data panel button. We place ourselves on the icon chart property, and place the name of the icon we want to use, for example a chart line. The icon changed correctly. In the same way for the order button. We look for a suitable icon for the use case, for example a shopping cart icon. We place ourselves on the icon chart property, and place the name of the icon. We do the same for the remaining buttons. Well, we already have all the icons assigned on the buttons. Now we will add the title bar. For this we insert a panel. I will name the title bar. In the dock property, we attach to the top. We assign a height that we want. Finally, we change the background color. Well, now we add a FontAwesome icon picture box to show the icon of the current secondary form or active button. We choose a default start icon. We change the color, for example purple. Now we add a label to show the title. We change the text color. We change the text. Finally, we change the name, for example, form title. In the same way we change the name of the icon, for example, current form icon. Once the design is finished, we open the form code. We import the FontAwesome.Sharp library. We declare fields privately to store the current button and a panel to apply a left border to the button. In the constructor, we declare the constructor and initialize the left border of the button. We assign a size, for example 7 pixels wide. In height, we place the height of the button, that is 60 pixels, or you can assign the height you want, or the width you want. Finally, we need to add the left border of the button to the menu panel controls. Well, now we create the following methods. A private method of empty type to highlight the active button, as parameters an object of the sending button and a custom color. We create a condition to verify that the button is not null. Let's start customizing the button. First we assign the sending button to the current button. For this it is necessary to convert the object to the same type of button. We change the background color of the button. For example, a RGB color 373681. We change the text color of the button to custom color parameter. We change the color of icon to custom color parameter. We align the text to the center. We align the icon to the right. We change the ratio text and image to text before image. Now, in the left border of the button, we change the background color to custom color parameter. We assign a new location. On the x-axis, you can place any, in my case 0. On the y-axis, we place the current location of the y-axis of the button. We put visibility in true. And finally we bring to the front. Now we will change the icon of the title bar to the icon of the active button or current form. Finally we assign the current custom color. Well, that's all in terms of button customization. Now we create another method to disable button highlighting. We create a condition to verify that the current button is not nothing. Here we simply return the default values of the button configuration. In background color, we place the original color of the button. In the same way for text color. We assign the default color of the icon. We align the text and icon to the left, and show the icon before the text. Alright, and that's it for menu buttons. Now we create the click events of each button and invoke the ActivateButton method. As the first parameter we need to send the sender object and a custom color, then we put the sender object of the event, and a color, for example a sea green, or you can assign an RGB color. We can create a list or structure of custom colors. However, in case I want to use the colors with all forms, it will be better to declare the colors in a separate file, be it a class or a structure. In my case I will create a structure to store a listing of RGB colors. Here I already have a list of selected colors. This is totally optional. You can send a color directly by invoking the method as indicated above. Well, I have already created a list of colors. Now we can select the color from the structure, for example the color 1. We do the same for the remaining buttons and select a different color. Well, that's it. I will increase the zoom of the text editor and be able to see the code better. Well, let's test the application. The button highlighting runs correctly, the color, the formats, the left border, and the icon of the currently selected button are applied. However, the previous button does not return to its original state when selecting another. To solve the problem, we must invoke the DisableButton method before highlighting the button. Let's test again. Runs correctly. Well, now we will create a method to open secondary forms within the main form and show the title of the current open form. To do this, we add a panel, named Put Desktop Panel. In Dock Property, we place Fill, to fill in all the remaining space. Optionally we add a background color. Now let's add secondary forms and open them in the desktop panel. I added a form for each button in the menu panel. Well, we go back to the code, and create a method of opening a child form name, as a parameter a field of type form. We declare a form type field to store the current secondary form. We create a condition: if current child form is not empty, we close the current form, and store the form parameter in the current form field. This will only open a single form in the desktop panel, that is, when opening a form, we close the previous form. If you want to open multiple forms on the desktop panel, simply delete these lines of code. Well, we indicate that the child form is not top level. We remove the border of the form. In the dock property, we indicate that you filled the container. Now we add the child form to the controls of the desktop panel. We associate the form data to the panel. We bring the form forward. Then we show the form. Finally we show the text of the form in the title label. Well, now let's invoke the OpenForm method from the click events of each button. As a parameter, we send a form instance. We do the same for each button and form. The form opens in the desktop panel and the title is displayed correctly. Well, now we close the secondary form open and deactivate the button by clicking on the logo. We create the logo click event, and here we simply close the current secondary form, provided that the current form field is not empty, this to avoid instance errors. Now we create a method to reset all the default values. First we disable the button. We hide the visibility of the left border of the button. We return to set the default icon of the current form icon. In the same way, we return the color of the icon. Finally, we assign the default title of the main menu. We invoke the method after closing the secondary form. Let's test. Runs correctly. We can add necessary elements to the main start form, for example a logo or notification messages. The elements are shown again when the form is closed, since these only overlap. Many times they comment how to make controls or forms responsive to the current size of the form. For example, I want the logo to always remain centered when resizing or maximizing the form. To do this, and as I have always told you, we must simply adjust the anchor property. In this case we deactivate all anchors. In this way the logo will remain centered. Let's test. Runs correctly. You must do something similar for all controls, either by anchoring to the top, left, right or bottom, or adjust the dock property, as was done to design the form. You must also create the secondary form with the same size of the desktop panel and use the same default font size in the forms. Well, now let's add the function of dragging the form from the title bar panel. Well, I will copy the code so as not to lengthen the video. In the designer, select the panel, select the Events tab, locate the mouse down event, and create the event. Now we invoke the two previous methods in the title bar event. We import the Runtime Interop Services library. This library allows us to use native libraries of the operating system, in this case the User32 library, which allows you to move the form through the mouse event. Let's test the application. The form can move correctly. Now we can remove the title bar. For this we turn to the constructor. In this form text we place an empty string. We remove the control box, and activate double buffer to reduce the flickering in the form graphics. Let's test. The title bar has been removed correctly, however the border of the form are still maintained. In this way we maintain the functionalities of dividing or maximizing the form by anchoring it to the top, left or right of the desktop. If you wish, you can remove the border of the form completely. But these functionalities will be lost, so you would have to code everything from naught. Well, here a small inconvenience: by maximizing the form occupies the entire screen, hiding the taskbar, and that hurts if you want to work with several applications. To solve the problem we must set the limits in the maximized form, which will be equal to the work area of the desktop. Let's test. It runs correctly, only here it has a transparent border that is not elegant, and it is possible to resize the form from the borders in a maximized state. To solve the problem, we must eliminate the border of the form completely by maximizing the form. To do this, we go to the designer, select the form, and in the Events tab, we look for the Resize event. If the form is maximized, we remove the border of the form. Otherwise, we re-establish the border of the form. Let's test. The form is fully maximized in the work area of the desktop, and it is no longer possible to resize the form from the borders. Well, finally, add buttons to close, maximize and minimize the form. In the Close button, we simply exit the entire application. On the Maximize button, if the state of the window is normal, we maximize the form. Otherwise we restore the size of the form. In the Minimize button, we simply minimize the form. Let's test. It runs correctly, however the buttons remain in their current position and do not fit the current size. To solve the problem, as I indicated, we turn to the Anchor property. Select the three buttons, and anchor the controls to the top and right. Let's test again. The buttons remain in the same position. Remember that to have a controller-responsive form in this type of user interface, we must create the secondary form with the same size of the desktop panel. In addition to using the same type and default font size of the form. As you notice, the size of the form changed considerably. It is for this reason that many times the controls of your secondary forms do not attach correctly to the desktop panel of the main form. Also remember that you must adjust the Anchor property properly. For example, I want these two buttons to remain in the lower right part of the form. Then we simply anchor to the bottom and right. Runs correctly. On the other hand, we should optionally establish a minimum size of the main form. For example, the same default size, or reduce a few pixels. In this way we set the limit by shrinking the form and keeping a good view of the form. Well, that's all in this tutorial. You can add more things, or you can remove some items. I hope you enjoyed and see you again.